Hello, lovely people and cherished viewers. It's another time and it's another video. In today's video, we are going to look at the topic continent. The topic continent. How many continents do we have in the world? How many continents do we have in the world? And if you want to travel, which continent do you want to travel? Before you want to travel, you have to know the continent. And you divide it into countries, sub-regions and regions. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the continent. Basically, we have 7 types of continents in the world. Continent, let's quickly give a brief definition of continent. It's a large or continuous mass of land. Continent is a large or continuous mass of land. Conventionally regarded as a collective region, a large or continuous mass of land, conventionally regarded as a collective region. There are 7 types of continents in this world in our 21st century. So let me quickly give a brief names of the continent. The first one is the Asia continent. Asia continent. Then we come to the African continent. And the second one is known as the North American continent or Northern American continent, and we have the fourth one, the South American continent, the fifth being Europe, and the sixth being Australia, and the last being Antarctica. So I'm going to take my time with you, and we dive into each world. We dive into the continent world. So when we say the Asian continent, let's look at some of the characteristics of the continent, its nature, the population, and all those things. So Asia is the largest continent in the world by land area and population. When you talk of Asia continent, it's the largest continent in terms of land or geographical occupation and population. They have the largest number of population. The Asian continent has the largest number of population in the world. It covers an area of more than 44 million square kilometers and 30% of the total land area. 44 million kilometers and 30% of the total Earth land area. Wow, then Asia is a continent, a great continent. And the land area of 8% of the total surface area. We have about 44 million kilometers square of land and 30% of the total Earth land area and 8% of the total square area. The continent has long been home of majority people. It has long been home of the majority human population. The continent has been home of the Asia continent has been home of the majority of the human population. And it has 4.7 billion people constitute roughly. It has constitute 4.7 billion. Wow, the whole population of human population on this earth is 8 billion. And Asia, only Asia, the continent of Asia carries 4 billion, half of the people in the world. Out of the 7, Asia alone carries 4 billion people. 60% of the world population having more than all over other continents from it carries 61 continent, which is the Asia continent, carries 60% of the total population of the earth. So when we combine the Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe together, Asia continent beats all these continents. And it's because from the religious perspectives, the creator of this universe, God, he started the creation. He created people. Humanity started in the Asia. Humanity started and major parts of religions and religious activity started there. God created humanity there. So Asia is the first continent God ever created. Everything was started in Asia. Our civilization started in Egypt, which is Africa, yeah. So some theories confuse itself. Some civilization started in Africa, so Africa is a bit older, not as people say. The world, so most of the activities started in Asia, human activities, and it has been a home to thousands of human population. It has been a home to thousands of human population. Most human activities started there. Most human activities started in Asia. 1 minute. So we are going to look at Africa, the continent of Africa. Mama Africa, I'm proud African. So let's look at some Africa. It's the world's second large and the second most populous continent after Asia. Large in terms of land and the second most populous continent after Asia. So Asia has most, let me see, they have most of the religions, mostly Hindus, Christianity is there, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, all these activities or religious activities take place in Asia, especially most is predominantly or dominated by Muslims or Islamic teachings, but Christians are also there, Hindus, Buddhists, Shiturists, all those people also perform their functions there, but it's being predominantly occupied by Muslims. And so when you talk of Asia, it covers the area of Syria, the Gulf countries, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi, Oman, and Israel is even in Asia. Middle East, Israel is part of the Asian country. It's in Asia, Middle East, and let me see this country. This country, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, all are part of the Asia. They all are part of the Asia. Middle East, all these countries are part of the Asia. Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Filipino, yes, Filipino is part of the Asia. Filipino is part of. I was having a white friend who used to say he's from Sierra Leone, so I wanted to say Sierra Leone, but Sierra Leone is part of Africa, not Asia rather. So Sierra Leone is part of Africa. Which country is this? Which country is this? Middle East, we are going to Sierra Leone is part of Africa. So let's look at Africa. Africa is the second largest continent in terms of populations and the land coverage area, geographical. It covers 20% of the Earth's land area and 6% of total land surface. This one, Asia covers 30% of the land area and total surface of Earth is 8. Africa is 20% and total land surface area is 6. So let's take note of this. Africa population is the youngest among all the continents. Africa population is the youngest among all the continents. But this continent, Antarctica, is a dwarf continent, or it's not a dwarf continent rather. Antarctica is an uninhabited continent. Nobody lives there because it's been covered with ice. It's been covered with ice. So Despite the wide range of natural resources, Africa is the least by wealth, by total wealth. Africa is the least continent per capita and second least by wealth, total wealth. We have many resources and many natural uncountable, but when it comes to wealth, or is the least developed, or when it comes to wealth acquisition, Africa continent we lack wealth. We need the mindset of wealth creation. The mindset of wealth creation. The mindset of wealth creation. We have a whole lot of factors which has contributed to the retrogression of African continent. Some of the continents is the colonialism, the introduction of colonial rule. When somebody's rule you, before you set yourself off from your rulers, you cannot be the same with your ruler. That's true fact. So the UK people rule Africa, and though we have gotten independent, we could have put in things in straight way for the country to gain, or for the continent to liberate itself from the bondage of colonialism. But still, we are still going there small. And when you talk of, when you go to the issue of tribalism, there are so many tribes in Africa, you cannot count it, you cannot finish. You cannot. I did a research in a country like Zambia, which is in Africa, small country. They have different about 72 tribes with 72 languages. Country like this, even one country is having the Ghana, we have almost 60 languages, unofficial and official ones. 60 languages. How can we combine these languages, and the people have their small differences and barriers and hatred for each other? How can they come together and go? So the continent is the least due to some of these factors. And corruption, you cannot do away with corruption when it comes to Africa. Africa is noted, not only Africa, in some part of the world, corruption is everywhere, but Africa, as a proud African, and I want our continent to develop, or I want to contribute my quota, I have to tell my own story. Africa, we can get there. So corruption is part of Africa, and small, most governments have come and have put in things in place to eradicate this thing. And some of it, but it takes a time, because it's so many factors that bring corruption. Awarding contracts need corruption. Doing this need corruption. We have democracy. Democracy has contributed to the least development of Africa. Democracy, I think, has caused more harm to Africa than good, because most of our parliamentary, when it takes something like African Parliament, most of their parliamentary activities, they have country like Nigeria have bicameral legislature, which is Nigeria is in Africa, which is two legislative houses. That's bicameral legislature, the upper house and the lower house. In Ghana, we have only one legislature. Looking at as a growing economy, the amount of money we spend on our ministers and their deputies, and because you are in democratic dispensation, their inputs and their output, their fuel, their entitlements we give to them. Elsewhere, they don't do that, and it delays decision making. When they want to enforce some law, go to parliament, they go first chamber, second chamber, before the law will be passed. It will take a while. But elsewhere, all these are abolished. They use kings, queens, monarch, and some people even use dictatorship, which I'm not here to encourage. Some countries use dictatorship, which is not my ultimate game here, which is not my ultimate game here. So, which is not my ultimate aim here. Which is not my ultimate aim here. So Africa, we have so many differences. You have a new colonialism, and even after colonialization, the impacts of colonialism is still on us. After colonialization, we go in for loans, we go in for this, we take our resources for exchange of loans and money for development. I don't blame my leaders. I don't blame the top hierarchies, because I don't know, though I'm there, I know I know a little, or I don't know all that much about governance to get to the top. I study governance and I know a little, but I cannot criticize them. I can't criticize them. So I will encourage them to give their best, and we should put institutions. I remember in 2008 when Barack Obama, the former ex-president of the United States, when he visited Ghana, he said one thing. He said our institutions are dormant. We have giant institutions. The institution here doesn't mean any. I quote. He said the institution doesn't mean the buildings, but the enforcement of their works. How the institution operates. The institutions are dormant. In Africa, we need to wake up. We need to wake up from our sleep. We need to wake up from our sleep. So that's Africa. Colonialism and Oceania. We'll move on to North America. That's the third one. It's the continent in the northern hemisphere. The geography people here is the continent in the northern hemisphere and almost entirely in the southern hemisphere. It is bordered to the north by the Arctic Ocean. The Northern America is a continent in the northern hemisphere and almost entirely to the south hemisphere. It is bordered to the Arctic Ocean, to the south of the South America and Caribbean Sea, and the west by the Pacific Ocean. It includes Greenland and America geographical. Some of the countries in the Northern America I can make mention of. I know of Canada and the rest. Canada, because of its boundaries with Arctic and Pacific Ocean and the northern and those oceanic on the Greenlands. They experience, I think, 4 types of weather, and their weather there is very, very cold. The freezing and the breezing. It's very cold there. That's the northern North Africa. Canada is my dream country also. Canada is a dream country. It's one of the peaceful country to live. Canada is one of the peaceful countries and one of the most difficult countries to even enter. I think Canada and the United States share similarities, but one day Canada will come there. So Canada, we have mentioned of Asia, which is the largest continent in the world. We come to the second largest, Africa. We move to third one, North America, and the fourth one is South America. The fourth one is South America. It's a continent entirely in the Western Hemisphere and mostly in the Southern Hemisphere, with relatively small in the Northern Hemisphere. North America is also part of the North America. The South America is share border with the North America, and the North America, I can boast of Canada as a main continent or one of the major countries in the North America. When it comes to the South America, we have America. The United States is a continent on its own as a South American continent. So some of the countries in the United States, or the states, they don't call themselves countries. uh, current year. We have Ohio Browns, uh, Ohio Browns. What else are some of the American states? Texas, Connecticut. I know of them: Texas, Connecticut, Ohio, Indiana, Indiana State, Virginia, Pennsylvania. You can mention some. You can mention Pennsylvania and the rest. So America is the most powerful country in the world. America is the most powerful country in the world. America is the most powerful country in the world. America is the most powerful country in the world. And we know of America, yes, it's the most powerful country in the world. Superpower, let me put it. America is the superpower nation in the world. America. They have the weapons and missions and go. They have everything. They are superpower. So it's a continent entirely in the western, a relative small in the northern hemisphere at the western tip of the continent. It's also been described as the southern sub-region, a single continent called America. A single continent called America. So we can move on to the fifth one. So we have made mention of the Asia continent, second one African continent, third one North America, fourth one South America, fifth one as the continent of Australia. That's the continent of Australia. The continent is sometimes known as the Sahel. The Australian continent in the Australian language is known as the Sahel. The name Sahel takes its name from the Sahel itself, which is part of the contained Sahel of Australian continent. Okay, the continent is known as Sahel in Australian language, which is also part of the Sahel continent. So the Sahel is derived from the continent Australia, and they have named it after the continent also, the continent Sahel. They have named it for this continent also. They have named it for this continent also. The name Sahel takes its name from the Sahel shelf, which is part of the continental shelf of the Australian continent. The continent includes mainlands of Australia, Tasmania, the islands of New Guinea, the mainlands of Australia, Tasmania, the islands of New Guinea, the islands of New Guinea, the islands of New Guinea, the islands of New Guinea. So the Australian continent, I know of the University of Queensland, the University of Queensland in Australia, one of the top leading university, and it has 8 main campuses. Sometimes I think America, and some is in Australia also. University of Queensland, Australia. University of Queensland in Australia. So you can apply. If you want to study, you can apply and go there and study. If you want to study, you can go to Australia and study and have fun. Study. Let's move to Europe, European country, Europe. Someone will say Europe, not Europe, Europe, European. It is comprising of westmost peninsulas of Eurasia. It is located entirely in the northern hemisphere and mostly in the eastern. It shares continental landmass Afro-Eurasia with both Asia and Africa. So Asia and Africa, Europe share boundaries with them, or landmass. Majority are mostly with shared by the sea. Europe share their boundaries between Africa is in the Morocco and the Tunisian area by the sea. Excuse me. So their boundaries between Africa in Morocco by the sea, in Morocco and Tunisia by the sea, and it is considered to be separated from Asia by the west from the Asia of Ural Mountains and the Ural River, the Caspian Sea. Europe is separated from Asia and Africa with the Ural Mountain and the Ural Sea and the Caspian Sea. So Europe is also a home to most tourists and foreigners. Some of the European countries are the Belgium, England. England is a European country, or the UK, but they are not part of the European Union. We have Denmark, Sweden, Italy, Norway, Spain, all part of the Asia, all part of the Poland, Sweden. They are all part of the Asia continent. Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Italy, Spain. They are all part of the Asia continent. They are all part of the Asia continent. They have major river and the major mountain, Capitania Mountain, Caspian Mountain, the Asia River, and the European River, or the Ural River, the Caspian Sea. Mountain, the highest mountain in the world is in the Asia continent. It is called Mount Everest, which is located in Nepal. The highest mountain in the world is located in Nepal, which is in Kathmandu. Their capital is Kathmandu, Nepal. The highest mountain in the world can be found in Nepal, which is in Asia. And when we come to Africa, the highest mountain in Africa is called Mount Kilimanjaro. It's located in Kenya. Kilimanjaro is located in Kenya. And when it comes to Ghana, we have the highest mountain. It's called Afajato. It is located in the Volta part of Ghana. Share borders with Togo, Mount Afajato. So Africans are there. This is our continent. We'll go deeper into each of these continents again and see. We'll go deeper into it and see Africa and these continents. We'll go deeper and see how it's going. We go deeper and see how it's going. We go deeper and see how it's going. We go deeper and see how it's going. So we go for commercial break. We'll be back. Okay. So the last one is the Antarctica, the continent Antarctica. The Antarctica is in the southmost continent of and the site of the South Pole is in the South Pole. Geography student is vertically uninhabited, ice-covered landmass. Most cruises to the continent visit the Antarctica Peninsula. The Antarctica, nobody lived there because of the ice. Let me brief it, let me say it in the layman's language. Antarctica no be anteso. It's a obi antesa continent. Obi transuni yi asokotwea ajesu nyina afa. Nobody lived there. Asokotwea ajesu nyina afa. O transuni yi nkrofo ko nsrahe. People go there for tourists. People go there for tourists. People go there for tourists. Okay. You go there, most people visit the continent. Those who used to cruises with ships and the boats and canoes, they visit there when they are traveling. You can visit there. It's full of ice. It's a landmass being covered with ice. The landmass is covered with ice. So let's look at some of the foods in what each continent is noted for. When you go to Asia continent, country like the most of the Arabic or the Gulf countries or the Gulf Peninsula, they are blessed with petroleums and gold and those things. Countries like Saudi, Oman, Bahrain, they have their gold and they have petrol, the crude oil. They have the crude oil, the real oil in their country in large quantity for international export. Saudi Arabia is a notable example. Bahrain, Kuwait, they all have their, and the Kuwait is among the countries with higher currency denomination. And Bahrain, they also have the currency of higher currency denomination. The food they like that is like bread. They like bread food. That's the wheat or the flour. They have parota, Indian, chicken, curry sauce. They are all these food are the Asian food. Flat bread. They have what is called flat bread. It looks like manna. What God used to feed the Israelites in the olden days. All the holy books of Bible and the Quran tells their food and flat bread. Uba abibimamu you want to see Africa. You also have so many cultures, divisions, groups, major foods. We like rice and local staple food like fufu for Ghanaians, apele, konkonte, rice, eba for Nigerians. Nigerians like eba. That's gari with hot water. You have your sauce or something, you are ready to go. The same gari, we don't make it gari, we make it fufu. Ghanaians like fufu, we eat fufu. And we go. I don't know if the Togolese, what food they like. I know of the Ghanaians, what we like, what we eat, and those things. But that one for the Togo, we don't know. That for the Togo, I don't know. And most African continent or the country is noted for agriculture. You don't have most. There are industries in South Africans and Rwanda's and but Ghana we have lesser industries, but industries is not. Africa is not industrialized continent, unlike Europe and Asia and America and co. We are not industrialized continent, so most of our products we import our cars, and although we make it here, but not in large quantities, So Africa is industrialized nation. It's not industrialized nation. Africa is not industrialized nation. Africa is not industrialized nation. Africa, we are not industrialized nation. So we are noted for agriculture. We and most of our produce. We have timber, bauxite, diamond, all our farming produce. We export them raw to European countries, and our gaining is not that much. We export major of our produce for quick money to save ourselves. We export most of our produce from to the international world, international market. We export most of our produce to Europe and other part of the world. And Africa's, we have the black people. Africa is, you can't make mention of Africa and get rid of the black race. Africa is a continent full of black race. We are the black race. We are proud of ourselves, and we are most intelligent. We are also most intelligent people on the world, on this earth. We form part of the most intelligent people. I know black people in this world who has established or who has been famous. People like Dr. Ben Carson. You can't mention of neurosurgeon and get rid of Dr. Ben Carson. It's a notable example of neurosurgeon. He did a neurosurgeon. He separated the Siamese twins. So Dr. Ben Carson and team. Kudos to them. Kudos to Dr. Ben Carson and team. Dr. Ben Carson and team, they did well. They did a massive job. They did well. You can't mention of Dr. Ben Carson. Europe can get rid of Dr. Ben Carson. So that's Africa. And Africa is full of resources: gold, diamond, bauxite, magnesium, lithium, timber, tree, everything, human being, everything. And we have even human beings. Our forefathers were into slaves into the Antarctica and America and built the continent, helped them build and toiled their plantation of sugar canes and all those things. Brazil, they exported human beings to the Africans. But thank be to God, we are free. So let's pay homage. 1 minute silence for our forefathers. They did a massive job for us. They did a massive job. And let's not forget that Barack Obama. Obama has been the first black, well, he was the first black president in the United States. I can't do away with Martin Luther King Jr., who said one day in his speech, the black man who ruled America, and it came to pass. He was shot dead because of such speech. Martin Luther King did a massive job. Martin Luther King did a massive job. So all these continents are massive continents, and they are helping. They are good continents. All these continents are good, and you can boast of anything. All these continents are good, and you can boast of them. You can boast of this continent. They are very good. And you can boast of them. You can have them. So welcome back. We are back again. I'm going to look at North America. North America, what are they noted for? America, the Canada, yes. Canada has good school, the economic is stable, everybody dream of living in Canada, not necessarily everybody, some people. It's a country, because of the low birth rate or and high good hospitals and good school, people are willing to migrate. Immigrants are willing to go and settle in Canada because of their hospitals, good schools, and all those things. It's a dream to thousands or billions of people in this world. Canada is a dream to them. They are all dreaming to live in Canada. Come. Canada is a dream to them. So Canada is a dream to these people. Canada is one of the countries in North America. Share border with America, and it's one of the coolest place because of the border with sea, share border with the Arctic Ocean to the West and Pacific Ocean. It share border with two oceans, and the climate is very very cold. The climatic condition there is cold, and I think they have four weather. That's the winter, the spring, the autumn, the winter, the spring, the autumn, and cold weather. The winter, the spring, the autumn, and the summer. The winter, spring, autumn, and summer. These are their weathers. And these include the Greenland and the North America geographical. It includes the Greenland and Canada and the North America form part of the North America. The Greenlands are also part of the North America. So let's take note. It includes the Greenland. They all form part of the North America. The Greenland form part of the North America. And South America is a continent entirely in the Western Hemisphere and mostly in the Southern Hemisphere, with relative small portion in the Northern Hemisphere at the northern tip of the continent. So the South America have some of its continents in the northern hemisphere and in the continent of North America. So North America is mainly Greenland and Canada, and South America is known as the United States. So they share borders in the northern and the southern hemispheres. So America is also good for schools. They are the most superpower, as I said it earlier on, the superpowerful nation in the world. America is the superpowerful nation in the world, and everything is there. It's also been described as the southern sub-region of a single continent called America. America is a continent on its own. That's the 52 or the 50 states. The 50 states of America. The 50 states of America, they have their schools, everything. With hard work is what sustains their economy. Hard work is what has sustained the economy. The 50 states of America. It's hard work has been what has sustained the economy. Hard work has been what has sustained the economy. Hard work has sustained the economy. also part. The continent includes the mainland Australia, Tasmania, the island of New Guinea. We are going to look at the Sahel, the continent of Australia. Australia was some time ago my admirer. I used to admire Australia because I was having the dream of one day entering to the University of Queensland at the nation's top university to pursue my higher education. So Australia is a continent, same as one continent on its own, sometimes known as Sahel. The name Sahel takes its name from the Sahel shelf, which is part of the continental shelf of Australian continent. The continent includes mainlands of Australia, Tasmania, the island of New Guinea. The Australian continents include the mainland of Australia, Tasmania, the island of New Guinea, Papua New Guinea. They are all part of Australia. Australia is, and sometimes they experience disaster in all those parts. I know it's part of life, but some time ago, Australia experienced a drought. That's the fire outbreak in the country. I'm yet to know what causes them. I'm yet to know what causes Australia the fire outbreak and all those things. So we are getting closer and we are hammering on it. We are getting there small. So we are getting the Australia continent, the New Guinea. We have Guinea-Bissau in Africa. We have Guinea in Africa, but this New Guinea, Papua New Guinea in Australia, in Australian continent. So we are moving on to Europe. When you talk of Europe has good schools, good hospitals, stable or good economy, and they are also notable for industrialized continent. They are part of the industrialized continent. Europe is part of the industrialized continent. So Europe is part of the industrialized continent. Europe is part of the industrialized continent. And we have the Ural River, and it's close to Asia. Europe is close to Asia. It's separated from Asia and Africa. Europe is separated from Asia and Africa. It's separated from Asia and Africa. Europe. And this is separated from Asia and Africa. And the Antarctica is an isolated continent, or is uninhabited continent. When you say uninhabited, it means nobody's dwelled there. There is no houses. It's covered with Iceland. So the closest people with ships and boats and canoes who travel on far journey from one continent to another, they visit the continent of Antarctica. They visit there, they go there for sightseeing. When they are crossing, then they visit there. So Antarctica is also a continent on its own. Antarctica is a continent on its own. And it's the South Pole, it's vertically uninhabited, ice-covered landmass. Antarctica is majorly covered with ice. Majority of the place is covered with ice. ice-covered landmass. Most closest to the continent is the Antarctic Peninsula, which stretches toward the South America. The Antarctic Peninsula stretches along the peninsula, which stretches towards the South America. And so the Antarctic stretches towards the South America, and the South America also stretches with the North America, which the North America share borders with both the Arctic and the ocean. The Arctic, they share borders with the Arctic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. The Antarctic or the North America continent share border with the Arctic or Pacific Ocean. Share border with Arctic or the Pacific Oceans. So today's video, we are bringing it to an end gradual. So we discuss the 7 continents in the world. Continent is a large or it's a large continuous mass of land, conventionally regarded as collective region. It's a large and continuous mass of land, conventionally regarded as collective region. There are 7 continents in the world: Asia, Africa, Antarctica, Europe, Australia, Asia, Africa, South America, North America, Europe, Australia, Antarctica, and each of them have their similar characteristics. When you take of Asia, the geologists or the researchers will say that it has been a home to major humanity on Earth than any continent in the world, and they have the largest population of human, both land and they have the largest population, both land and the human beings, and we have most religions and activities. Most of the activities in the world started there in Asia. I have over almost 44 countries form the Asian continent. Yes, and when it comes to Africa is the youngest continent in terms of development and the growth. We are developing, but we are not developed. We are in the agricultural age, whilst others are in the industrialized age. Africa too is there. Africa is there. Africa too is there. So that's it. And we made mention of Africa, made mention of North America, which comprises of Canada and the Greenlands and the rest, and the Greenland and the rest. Americans and the red. South America, which is the mainly American continent. The North America share borders with the Pacific and the Arctic Ocean. That's why Canada is very cold. And the South America is today's it's one country and a continent and each one. North America similar characteristics, a country and a continent, and Australia also is a country and a continent. Another name we learned from Australia is Sahara. Sahara, which derived its name from the continent of Australia. It derived its main name from the continent of Australia. It derived its name from the continent of Australia. It derived its name from the continent of Australia. It derived its name from the continent of Australia. Lebanon, Kuwait, and all those countries are part of the Asia continent. Lebanon, I have a friend, Brazil. Brazil is my good friend in Lebanon. South America, the continent of Australia, I've mentioned that, and Europe. It's a dream or destination to move African citizens. We are all willing to enter into Europe one day. Europe is a dream to most African citizens. It's a dream to most African citizens. We are all willing to enter the Europe. They are industrialized. Europe, America, Canada, their industrial industries are more than they have more industries and shortage of labor. But Africa have more labor and shortage of industries. Most Asia countries, Africans are better than them. They are poor, Bangladesh, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, we are all Ghana, Nigeria, we are far better than this country. So let's be proud of ourselves. Antarctica is ice-covered landmass area. It's ice-covered landmass area. Antarctica is ice-covered landmass area. In the site of the South Pole. It's vertical, uninhabited. Nobody lives in Antarctica. It's ice-covered area. Nobody lives there. Nobody lives in Antarctica. Nobody lives in Antarctica. It stretches towards South America. It stretches towards South America. Antarctica, nobody lives there. It's a continent on its own, covered with water. So we'll bring today's video to an end. We learned about the 7 continents in the world. Let me quickly go over again. We have Asia, the largest, Africa, second largest, North America, South America, Australia, Europe, and Antarctica. The name still remains Optimistic Travels and Consultants. If you have any issue, you can leave your comment, your contribution on the comment section. Thank you and see you in my next video. Bye for now.